Hi, welcome once again to another Impact Talks. These sessions that we have here, we are broadcasting live from Washington, D.C. And we talk about the main issues from IDB Invest, the Development Bank, and the issues that the region has. And to do that, we always talk with one of our experts. Today, we have Alessandro Maffioli, who is the Chief of the Development Effectiveness Division at IDB Invest. And the main topic for today will be impact. What is impact, and more specifically, what is impact investment? Alessandro, I know you're an economist from Italy, and I'm going to read it because I don't want to make any mistakes. You have your PhD from the University of Insubria, correct?
Yes, exactly.
So welcome to the conversation. To all of you who are watching us through LinkedIn Live right now, please remember you can send us your questions. We'll be happy to answer them. We will be receiving them live, and I will do it to Alessandro. So anything you would like to clarify or understand about impact investment, just let us know. So we're going to go from the general to the more specific, Alessandro, and I like to do a kind of a pop culture point of view, So how do we get here? How do we get to this concept of impact investment, And usually when you start to thinking about investors, you have this image, and of course this is for people 40 and above, You have this image of Michael Douglas and his character in Wall Street, Gordon Gekko, that famous speech on greed is good, Mm-hmm. So how do we get from that shareholder capitalism to this stakeholder capitalism that we have today?
Yeah, well, first, thank you for having me here and talking about this topic. So I love the movie, by the way.
It's a good movie.
It is a great movie. But I think we really passed that kind of approach a long time ago. Things has changed a lot. And I think that the concept of impact investing is the idea that every operation, every type of organization has an impact. Actually, we should say more precisely net positive social and economic impact. So what is the idea? If you operate whatever you're doing, you're using resources to generate some value. And in the private sector, usually at that time, the idea was I use money to generate more investment and resources that I can, in a way, I have control of my costs, what I use, and I can appropriate of what I generate as a value. So that is in a way, if you want, the standard shareholder approach. What changes now that what we realize that many times the private sector, in order to generate that value, use other resources that they don't enter into their cost, they don't pay for, and sometimes abuse. Let's think about what we did with climate.
Yes.
We use a lot of natural resources. We didn't pay for the cost of sometimes abusing it, and now we are in the problem we are because nobody in a way was taking care and charged for that.
So we're paying the bill now.
We're paying the bill now. So we pass along to another generation that cost. On the other hand, you may be generating benefits that are not in the way you are, that your income or your returns are computed. If I have a product where I try to give access to credit to women that are unjustly discriminated, I'm not only, it's a good business, I'm not only doing something that is fair and just, but I'm also creating a value to the society because, now there are people that are talented, they are skilled, and they can be productive. They can actually increase the productivity in the economy because finally they have access to these resources.
And they're part of the system,
Now they're part of the system, so they're generating benefits to the society. I don't give a retribution for that, but I'm creating that. So in a way, the vision of investing with an impact is to start to think what are the social costs I'm generating and what are the social benefits I'm generating, and try really to work to create a net positive impact for the society and the economy and the environment through my operation. So it's very far away from
I think we have moved a long way from that. And when you start to see impact investment, first step is, as you said, is to have that intent, that strategic intent of doing something or adding something. What else should a company do if they want to do impact investment?
Yeah, and then we go to the idea of impact management. That is not, in a way, once you understand well what we mean with impact, it's not very far away from what you would think that good management is. If you say, well, I really want to manage my operation and I'm serious with this objective and purpose to achieve this net positive impact, then what you have to do is to first have a strategy. So what do you want to achieve? What is your specific mission? What is your specific goal? If you're a fund, or the example we're using before, may say, well, I really want to work on financial inclusion. I want to include people that don't have access to credit to have this possibility to receive financing. So you set a strategy, you have a goal, and if you have a goal and you're serious with your goal, like in your work program, you say, well, you need to have a target, and you need to be able to measure it and define what success look like. Then you start to manage. So once you have that is the first step. The second step in this sequence, say, okay, now I know where I want to go and what success look like, but I need also to have tools and practices that guide me in making decisions in how I allocate my resources, my time, my investments, my human resources in order to achieve that goal. In the specific case, could be a bank say, well, now we need to develop a product for women. We need to invest on that. We need to allocate resources to that. And we need to have a decision-making tool that guide me in, because when there are alternatives to be evaluated in the way you allocate resources, you need something to guide you into that. And then if you really manage, you need to have a way to understand if you're moving in the right direction. So I have a target, I have tools allow me to support me in making decisions. Now I need to know also, I'm moving towards success or not. And if I'm not, what can I do to correct? Or if I'm not, what is that I did wrong? Or what is that I didn't take into account when I was thinking about this specific investment or action that does not lead me to where I want to go? So learning, managing, correcting, that becomes really part of the way you manage in order to achieve that goal for impact. And for instance, at IDB Invest, we do have this, what we call a series of tools and practices that guide us from our overarching strategic goal to have a positive impact on Latin American and Caribbean countries, to create opportunity for more people, to create growth, productivity, and so on and so forth, that then guide us in taking decisions where we want to invest, where, for instance, an impact scoring system that allow us to, in a way, look at different investment opportunity and decide which one fit better with our purposes and which one can contribute more to our mission. And we have a way to monitor project during their execution, actually during the investment time of our client, so that they see if they move in the right direction, learn, correct if we need to, particularly learn what works, what doesn't work, and feedback into the way we select and structure projects so that we can achieve that mission. So that is called an impact management framework.
That is, for people who doesn't know very much of us, that's what we call Delta, no? That's the instrument we have.
The impact scoring system is what we call Delta, and the impact management framework has more instruments, include the way we, not only the Delta, which is the impact scoring, but include also the way we manage knowledge. It includes also supervision analysis, include also the way we evaluate projects. So there are many different pieces and parts in this framework. Let's say that the Delta, the impact scoring system, is a little bit the cornerstone of this system, because it is the tool that we use to select, monitor, in a way define what has to be in our portfolio, what fits, what doesn't fit, what is on track, what is off track when we look at our investments.
No, that's quite interesting, and I'm sure impact investment is the core of what we do at IDB Invest and other development banks, multilateral development banks. So today, companies and investors are looking for this kind of instruments or this kind of investment opportunities, or they're looking for other. How you see the market on that?
Well, the market is, as we said at the beginning, evolved a lot. I mean, we're very far away from what was let's say, the 80s approach. Now we have a new generation, thankfully, that look at the value that an organization generates in society as a primary concern. You think about how much people are engaged with the Sustainable Development Goal, interested to all the climate issues related to climate change. So there's a complete change in the way we look at also the private sector operation, both the clients, the customers of companies, the employee, the investors. So this changed dramatically. And if you look at for instance, what was before defined a sort of niche market. So the investors that really have a strong intentionality on impact, really say, I want to invest only on those investments that have a net positive impact on society, what is called impact investing market, has grown a lot. The last recent data produced by the Global Impact Investing Network, the GIN, on the size of this market is, for the first time last year, passed the $1 trillion globally.
Oh, that's a big
and
thing.
it's growing in Latin America as well, where if you look at maybe similar market, the sustainable bond market, you see that around $50 billion being invested last year. So it's something that is growing in the part that is more explicit, it's becoming bigger and out of a sort of a niche market. And you see also being mainstream. You see investing bank, pension funds, commercial bank talking more about sustainability first. If you want, is a version that means that we want to invest sustainably, so at least do not do any harm, produce net positive value in that sense. And more, but also more and more being able to demonstrate that you have this positive net impact on society, environment.
Yeah, that's precisely a shift from the idea of mitigating impact. No? That used to be, I think, not many years ago. Huh? So we're moving from that and have the intentionality on all of these different instruments. You said, like green finance or sustainable bonds. No? And what about stakeholders? What's the role that stakeholders play today on defining these investment opportunities?
Well, they play a central role, because I think that the key point of view there is that you're expanding the mission of an organization. It can be a corporate, it can be a bank, it can be an investor, from serving the interests of its shareholders, so the one that are going to, in a way, capture the private return, the financial return of the investments, to a broader set of stakeholders. So what is happening to your employees, what is happening to your customer, how you increase their benefit, what is happening to the society at large. So in a way, we are looking at a more holistic view of the value being produced by using the resources that are available. So stakeholders in that sense play a fundamental role. Sometimes in our case we call them beneficiaries as well. So we identify who are the ones that really benefit from the investment, from the impact investment that we are putting in place. But they are clearly a complete shift of focus from what was before in terms of investing.
And you see this impact investing happening in which areas? Climate is one, social. It's about purpose. No? Today we talk a lot about companies with a purpose. No? That's the kind of company that today really excels. But the question comes, and this is one of the questions a question we just received online, is, well, how should we answer to the critics that says that this is all about just greenwashing at the end of the day? How do we avoid just being a tool for greenwashing and actually being a tool for change?
Measuring. I mean, I think that something that is becoming clearer, that because as the market has been growing, this kind of demand came out very clearly. Say, we really want to know what is credible, what is truthful, what is transparent, and what is really achieving this objective. So, going through the burden of the proof to prove that you have an impact, that you're measuring what you're doing, that I think is critical. So I think this is why now you see more and more standards in the industry. For instance, the impact principle have been established as sort of self-regulating principle by the industry. You say, what does it define to be an impact investor? And that dictates for the fact that you need to have clear measure of this impact that you're claiming ex ante you're producing.
Yeah, and they have to be challenging. No?
Well, they have to be challenging, there has to be target, and has to be transparent. You need to say transparently. So that sometimes what I say is that you're serious in impact investing if you have some level of failures. I mean, what I start to be a little bit skeptical is all these investors that are always successful in what they do. There's a lot of emphasis on the ex ante measurement, on the intention. Yeah, we want to achieve this, but did you actually achieve that?
What did you learn?
And what did you learn? And did you fail sometimes? Because if you see the financial markets, there are many investments that don't go well. So why the impact investing should always be like successful in that sense? So I think that credibility is something that the industry understand now, especially the pioneers understand that it's more and more important to have measures. And by the way, because this is more interesting for consumers and for the citizens in general, you have regulators start to step in and say, wait a minute, if you are proposing yourself as someone investing for impact, and you may attract maybe pension funds, say, I want a part of my investment going towards this, we need to make sure that you're serious in what you're doing, that you're tracking what you're doing, that you're tracking the effect you're doing. So it is true. There's a little bit of risk that by the mainstreaming of this word, sustainability, impact, and so on and so forth, there's a little bit of impact washing and green washing. But on the other hand, I see also that the industry, the one that are pioneer and serious in the industry, they are taking action in terms of being more transparent, measure, and show results.
So I have another question, and a lot of questions are coming. Andres Carvajal is asking why measuring is necessary to manage impact, which I think it's something that you already said, but the second part is more interesting. So which are the main KPIs? What are we looking at? Or what should we look at to really see if we move the needle, no?
Yeah, and it depends what your objective is. I mean, in a summary, you would say that if we had the perfect, sorry, I promise not to get technical.
No, it's okay. No.
But the temptation is big here. But if you had the perfect measurement, I could say, well, you would need to try to define what is a social return of your impact, so give a monetary value. And I'm saying this because there's also a movement saying we should have a counting system that start to give a value to this social effects that you're producing. Okay, so because that would make it. You know what is the beauty of that? It will make it comparable. If I can say, look, I produce a return to the society of 12%, you say I produce a return to the society of 10%, then we have a comparable metric to say what was...
Apples with apples.
Yeah. But the metrics could depend, if you go more to the outcome level, depend on the specific investment you're looking at. If you say, for instance, I want to work on mitigating climate change, you say how much I'm reducing net reduction of CO2 emission. If you want to say, look, I really want to give, to reduce inequalities in terms of access to economic opportunities, you can look at first at the measure of access. So for instance, the example we're using, how many women have access to credit in a magnitude or terms that didn't have that before. So that would be an indicator you can track. And if you're able to measure that, even looking at what is the effect on their income. Do I really am able to produce economic opportunity for these women? So would depend a little bit on the type of investment you're aiming at. If you're in education, of course, you can look at educational achievement in the short run, and in the long run, look more at how the education affects your income capacity. It's what is called in our jargon a little bit the theory of change. So you look at the investment is kind of the financial input we use to produce a certain results or output. I mean, I finance, for instance, schools, and by doing that, the construction of school, training of teachers. Okay, I have those activities, and the output I can see that. So the school have been financed and built, the teacher been trained, and then you can go to outcomes like maybe closer to the output, like are they learning more, the kids? And you can even go to say, are there in the future their income is
or
higher
you're training, or you're training more teachers, that sort of thing.
Yeah, the important thing is to get really to something that is the real value you want to produce to society, which can be challenging in terms of generating the data.
Yeah, and I have here another interesting question from Carlos Gonzalez. He says, hi there, I'd like to ask, how is IDB Invest implementing its impact manager framework in its projects? How do we, walk the talk?
Yeah, so we walk the talk by the fact that, as I was saying, first we have strategies to define what are our overall targets as an organization, what we want to achieve in different sectors, in different areas, in different countries. So we have different strategic documents that guide us. And then, as I say, we have a way to assess our investment, take decisions. So we have a minimum threshold of what we define is development projects. So we really want to see that the project is going beyond producing benefit for the private sector, because IDB Invest work with the private sector. So the private sector investee. We want to see that there's an effect on this beneficiary. It could be women be financed, or it could be the climate, could be CO2 emission reduction, could be people having access to certain services, could be connectivity between areas being improved, and so on and so forth. So once we assess those and we look also at the cost of the project, we make a call on, is this a project that fit our development appetite, yes or no? Once we do that, then, and we decide to finance it, so we make a decision, I'm going really, really simple here, then the project go into our portfolio. And there we track every year based on what we call a result matrix, because as I say, you need to have a baseline, you need to have an indicator, you need to have a target.
Yes.
So where we want it to go. And then we track every year if the investment that we decided to put our resources in is moving towards the direction we're thinking. If yes or no, then and this is public, this is published actually. Every year we publish what are the projects we have on track, off track, or in alert, and then we're looking at in terms of how they're achieving their goals. And then when we wrap up the investment, or we get to what we call operational maturity, so we think that we can really observe, we can make a call on the investment was successful or not in terms of impact. We have a final evaluation, which is validated by our independent evaluation office. So in terms also of accountability, there's a strong effort there. All this, if you think about it, is very much in an accountability point of view, but we give a lot of importance in learning from our investment, learning from our operational experience. So we have knowledge management tools that we use to collect lessons from our investments and to feed back into how we make decisions ex ante and we build our portfolio. And we, during the execution of the project, we try to, when we see that the project is off track, we just say, well, bad luck, or let's try to understand why it's off track. Try to see if there is something we can do either through technical assistance more and more, which require also resources, or maybe corrective and additional investment to put the project back on track where we wanted to go.
So one last question from our audience, and it might be a little bit more technical. Alexander Perez says, will any or all investment management score both a positive delta and at the same time a negative delta from different stakeholders, business, employees, customers?
It's a great question. So the question goes towards if we are estimating a net positive effect, or just we are looking at the positive effect. The answer is we look at a net positive effect. So in a part of our assessment, there's a truly an economic analysis where we look at the cost and benefits. So let's say, for instance, we want to build a power plant that produces renewable energy. We would not only look at the emission that are avoided by producing energy through the renewable sources, but also the emission being created by building the thing. So we look at the net benefit effects. If we look to build an infrastructure that's creating job opportunity in the city A of a country, but because in a way compete or substitute another infrastructure, let's say a port in another area of the country, in terms of computing the job created in one area, we will make sure that we also net out the one that are in a way substitute in the other area. So our effort is to really look at what is the net benefit, and so in a way try to account for all the social costs and the social benefits and get to a net definition. It's not always easy.
No.
It is challenging. So I appreciate the question because it goes to the core of the problem. But yes, the intent is really to look at the net benefits.
So one last question, because we are ahead of our time. But what are we doing at IDB Invest, to help expand this impact management and this impact investment concept among investors in the Latin American and the Caribbean region?
Well, first we are a bank, so what we do is to bring with us other investors, and in a way allow them to leverage on our capacity to select investment for impact and identify which are the best opportunity in the region in terms of producing a net positive impact. So we want really to, and we more and more in the way we think our growth, we want to mobilize other investors. And in a way, we want them to rely on us and say, you have this lens, you have this capacity, we want to invest with impact, so we know by investing with you, we can put our resources in that area. But in addition to our, let's say, financial function, we also have what we sometimes call our non-financial part of additionality,
Yes.
we call it in jargon. And there we try really to work with both co-investors and clients from the point of view of my function, increasing the capacity to measure these effects. So, for instance, we are working with a National Bank Association with these banks that are commercial banks. They really want to expand the capacity to work on financial inclusion. But then they ask, how can we measure, how we can make sure that, how we can distinguish and identify in our portfolio what is that is going to, for instance, a women-led MSMEs
Yes.
versus a not women-led SMEs. What does it mean to be a women-led SMEs? How we define that? What kind of information we need to identify that? And so that is also that we provide technical assistance in terms of setting up, let's say, our clients' impact management framework. So how they measure, they look at this, or even how they define their own strategies to say, okay, I want to work on financial inclusion. What does it mean? What kind of line of credit I will create? How many clients am I aiming to involve? What kind of training I need for my credit officer in order to be more inclusive? And how do I measure this? So we work also on that kind of technical assistance. Let's say we are working with the National Association of Banks to have series of banks adopting this kind of practices within their operations.
Oh, so it's fantastic.
So stay tuned. We're
going to keep talking about this, and I think we have come to the end of our time. So I want to thank and appreciate Alessandro to be here with us today. So Alessandro, I hope we see you soon, or your staff, people from your team, to keep talking about the impact, investment, and actually what is the impact on real people. Okay.
Perfect.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. It was a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thanks everybody to be tuned in, and we're going to see you soon with another interview on Impact Talks. Thank you.